Bridget A. from Drunk Dog Creative, and I'm doing a slightly different tutorial today. Today, instead of teaching you how to make an actual card design, I want to talk about adhesives. Now, I've had several years of card making now, just over 2 years with Stampin' Up, but a number of years before that, and I've tried most of the adhesive products on the market. So I want to give you a really honest review of the ones that I've tried, the ones I liked, the ones I didn't like, and why. So if you're interested in this, I'm going to do this tutorial in 3 parts, so you can always skip to the part that interests you. The first one I'm going to do is on liquid glue. The second one is on tape runners, and the third part is on foam tape. It's all in one tutorial, but you are welcome to skip through to the part that interests you the most. So let's start with liquid glue. There are so many glues on the market, so many that we can use, whether you're in the US or Australia where I am, or the UK, the EU. There's, clear glues, opaque glues, there's decoupage glues. I've used so many, but there are 4 that I always keep on stock, and the rest I just don't bother with anymore. And the 4 have their uses and their pros and cons. So instead of going through 100 different liquid glues with you, I'm going to talk about the 4 that I use the most, and what I like about them and what I don't like. So let me grab them here. What we've got is Eileen's Tacky Glue, the multi-purpose liquid glue that you can get through Stampin' Up, the Stampin' Up fine tip glue, and the Sweet Petunia glue dispenser gun. This is fairly new to me, and I want to talk about all of them. So my go-to was always the Eileen's, and that's really because of the design of the bottle, so that it's always upside down. You don't have to shake and squeeze and try to get your glue out. The cap is a particular design to keep the top from getting clogged. And as you can see, you put it in and it fits into that cap, and you just keep it always ready to go. The only thing about this is when it's getting near the end, it takes a little more pressure to squeeze. So if you've got arthritis in your hands or joint problems, that gets harder at the end of the bottle, but not at the beginning and middle. This was always my go-to. And then I joined Stampin' Up and thought I better try some of their glues. So I've got the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue and the fine tip glue. Now, these are good, and there's nothing wrong with them, and I use them, mostly because as a demonstrator, I get a discount on all my products, so it's more cost effective for me to use them. This one is tricky because the cap has a pin that you have to put back in it. I hope you can see that. There's a little pin here that you have to get back into the cap. See, oh, it's really hard to see. The fine tip is, it's a like gel glue. It's not a white glue. It dries clear. So does the Eileen's. But I find sometimes this clogs even with this little pin in it, and it's hard to get the pin in. So I am going to give you a tip. If you use this, hold, I don't even know if you can see this. The fine tip on this is also a bit like a needle, so you probably can't see it very well. Hold it against your forefinger. Hopefully you can see that. And then hold the needle that's in the cap against your forefinger, and use your finger to help guide it into place like that. All right, so this is a good glue. It's especially good for embellishments or for very fine die cuts or sentiments. You would not use this for everything. You wouldn't cover a card front to adhere it to a card base. This is really for precision application for very specific things, and that's what I use it for. Embellishments that aren't already self-adhesive, sentiments where I've maybe cut out the word and it's very fine, anything ribbon, anything fine. So this is a good one to have on hand, but it's not your go-to use for everything glue. It's really for when you need precision. Then let's talk about the Tombow multi-purpose glue. So this is a really sticky glue, and that's both its genius and why I tend to not use it as much. This gets very tacky. It gets all over your hands. Even if you have a wet wipe or a wet rag nearby, it's really hard to get that sticky feeling off your hands, and you can transfer it to other bits and pieces that you're doing while you're doing it. I find I have to use an alcohol wipe or spray my hands with rubbing alcohol to get the tackiness off. And when you're working on a lot of projects or you're making multiple cards, having that tackiness on your hands isn't great, and I'm not a fan of that. And I'll demonstrate each of these in a minute, but the good thing about this is it has two ends. It has a fine tip on the top. It is not as fine as the precision glue. And this is a white glue that dries clear. So it's got a fine top there, and then the bottom is like a squeegee, a rubber squeegee top for broader or bigger pieces. And I find it very good for that. So if you're going to glue a larger piece to your project, that's very good for it. The other thing is it's so tacky that it grips immediately. It's not easy to reposition something using this glue. With the other glues, you can kind of maneuver and squiggle them a bit, but with this glue, that's hard to do. This is the latest one I've tried, and I really hesitated about getting it for a long time because it's expensive in Australia and it was very hard to get. But this is a glue gun by Sweet Petunia. It comes with a bottle of Nouveau glue with a fairly fine tip on it. Yeah, and sometimes you do get glue drying on the tip. But it also comes with a second bottle that is refillable with any glue you want to use. So when this runs out, I'll probably refill it with this one. But you have to use, this is the downside, you have to use this bottle or the refill bottle that comes with it because the shape is designed to work with this. So I couldn't put this in here. All right, so you take the bottle and you just insert it from the back until it clicks. I hope you heard that. To take it out, you just lift it up and push it back, put it in until it clicks. And to use it, you just pull the trigger and the glue comes out. Downside, you have to use that specific bottle or the other one that comes with it. It has a base that you put it on, and that base has a little rubber stopper. I don't know if you can see that way in there. A little rubber stopper way in the bottom. And that is what this tip goes on, supposedly to keep it from drying out and getting clogged. So in between uses, you put it down in it like that and it keeps the tip from clogging. Now I have found it doesn't always work. If I've left it overnight or left it for a few hours, I do generally have to just pull off the little bit at the top, a little bit of dried stuff at the top and put it back. What I've never had to do with this one, and it's probably been 6 months I've been using it, I've never had to stick a pin down it to unclog it. I do have to do that with other glues quite often, but I've never had to do it with this one. So that little rubber stopper does work mostly, but sometimes, like earlier in the video, you just have to pick a little bit of it off like that. But it's a clever design. Now this is also a precision instrument, and I probably wouldn't use this for very large areas either because you run through a lot of glue, but sometimes I do because it's so convenient to use. So why don't I show you each of these glues in use and very quickly run through pros and cons again, and then you can decide what glues you would like to try. If you have others that you think are fantastic, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear about them and try them out. I have tried all your standard stuff that come from your big box stores, and I find none of them as good as these four. So while I have some issues with these two, I still use them because they have specific uses and they're good. But they have some drawbacks that make these two my go-to. So let's have a look, shall we, at how they're used. I've just got some scrap paper here. This is the Tombow liquid glue, and it's got the fine tip, which is not fine. You can see that it comes out quite broad. And so it's nowhere near as fine as this fine tip. Where it's really good is this little squeegee thing where you can squeeze a blob out. Now I've got to get it all down the other end. Squeeze a blob out and then use that rubber tip to just spread the glue. Oh, I really need a silicone pad under this so I don't get it all over the table. Where you can just use that tip then to rub it all over. So when I'm doing large areas like card fronts, I would use this glue to rub that all over. And then you can just put your piece on it. Now, what I was saying about already, normally if you push this, you could move something that you've glued. Already it's stuck. I cannot reposition that very well. I would have to very carefully peel it off, and you can see it's already ripping the paper. So this glue is more like your adhesive tape, where once something's down, it's down, and you're not going to be able to move it. And then you can see, I don't know if this picks up on camera, but my fingers are already sticking together, and I won't be able to get that off with just water. So I'm going to grab an alcohol wipe and try and get this off. Lesson learned, I should have demonstrated this one last. Let me get this off my fingers and I'll be right back. All right, so I'm using an alcohol wipe, and even then it's still a bit tacky. And this is an alcohol-based wet wipe that I would usually use for antiseptic things. So I'm gonna have to go to my next and just spray a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on my fingers. And even now, after the alcohol wipe and the alcohol spray, there's a tiny bit of tackiness left. Not enough to transfer to other things, but if I had let that to dry and then picked up some cardstock, it would have transferred the, you know, when glue dries and it has that like dirty, stringy feeling, it can actually get on your cards. So that is the biggest drawback of this glue. And it's why I don't use this glue as often as the others, because if I'm doing a lot of stuff, it just stays on my hands. And personal thing, I don't like that feeling. However, it's an excellent glue, but be aware that once you put it down, it's done. You can't move it, you can't peel it off. It's very quick to grab and stay. Otherwise, this is brilliant for a lot of projects. I just have an issue with the tackiness of it. So this is the fine tip clear glue. Sorry, my glasses need adjusting. Fine tip clear glue. And again, I love this one, but it really is only for precision things. You can see that it does come out very fine. It's really good for sentiments, embellishments, small things. I think if you tried to do it on a large piece of cardstock, you'd waste a lot of it and you'd be frustrated with how slow it is, but it just comes out well. Again, here's that trick where you line it up on your finger. Always put the cap on and put the needle in. If you leave it for a long time between uses, it can still clog, and you need to take this cap off and poke it from the inside with a pin or a needle, and then re-poke it with that one. That's just a little tip. But if you use this glue, you can put something on it, and then you can still move it. You can pull it off, you can move it around, although not as easily as with the Aleene's or the Petunia, the white glues. So the clear glue and the Tombow glue do tend to set faster. Let's try that again with another scrap. So if I've got, just do a round one, and you really do have to take the time to put the cap on every single time you put the glue down, because it will dry out quickly. If I take a piece of scrap paper and pretend that's my embellishment, and I want to move it, I can lift it up and move it. I can squiggle it, and then when it dries, it's in place. And if I pick it up, it doesn't tear the paper if I do it in the first few minutes, but once it dries, it's done. And if you pick it up too many times, you'll need to re-glue it because the glue absorbs much more quickly into the paper. I hope that makes sense. So I would need to re-glue that now because I picked it up too many times and it dries kind of fast. All right, let's talk about the Aleene's tacky glue. It also comes in a clear tacky glue. I've been using this for a very long time, long before I found Stampin' Up. I do find that the only drawback is that when you're at the very end of the tube, it is almost impossible to squeeze out. Even if you stored it upside down and shaken it, I don't know if you can see this, you have to press really hard on it, and that's hard on your hands. So what I usually do when it gets to that point is grab a new one, and when I've used a bit of this one, I pour the rest of this in here. So I'm not wasting it, but I'm also not struggling with my hands. Anyways, again, it's got the kind of lid that keeps this from clogging up, although sometimes stuff will still dry and just pull it off. Because it's upside down, you usually don't have to shake it unless you've stored it that way. So let's just see, that comes out much better. It's not a precision glue. It's not a fine glue. It's just glue. And I find it really good. Let me get a little scrap piece here. This is the one where you can just very easily smush and move it around without taking it off. So with the fine tip glue, if you take it off, it absorbs in and dries out too quickly. You've got to reapply it. But this one, you can move around. You've probably got 30 to 60 seconds to move things around and adjust and take it off and put it back on without it drying out. So that's what I find this really useful for, is larger areas and things that you want to fiddle with and just press on and move a little bit. That's really good for that one. Okay, the last one I want to talk about is the My Sweet Petunia glue gun. This has sort of become my go-to. It is a precision tip, but I do find it's so easy to squeeze and dispense that I can do a larger card front or card base if I need to. You just pull the trigger and the glue comes out. So it's not quite as precision as that one, but gee, is it easy to use. And you can see I can cover a large area really quickly. And then I put it back in its base and it keeps that tip from clogging. I can still put cardstock down, and you can see I can still move it around, and I've got, again, about a minute to get it in place. I can peel it off in those first few seconds, but it does absorb in. So I sometimes might have to just replace a little bit of it if I'm going to do that. So it gives you about 30 to 60 seconds to play and move. And it is that easy. I could easily cover. Get it going. This is almost near the end of this one. I've got to refill it. I can cover a larger space pretty quickly with it. And it's very easy on the hands. Very easy on the hands. So that's the last one. And the winner for me, for multi-use, for everything, is the Sweet Petunia glue gun. I just find that even though it's fabulous for precision, I can cover larger areas with it without wasting a lot of glue because the lines are finer. Second for me is the Eileen's, and I can't wait to try this in this refill to see what kind of lines I get with this, just because the glue that comes with this, the Nouveau glue, is a little harder to find here in Australia. So if you're in the US, you might be okay. But then I use my Stampin' Up! Glues for a couple of special things. When I've got really large areas to cover, I use the Tombow on the broad side because it just does a brilliant job of using that rubber tip to spread it. And when I need true precision for little tiny things like embellishments or die cuts that are very fine, this is my absolute go-to. And as a demonstrator, of course, I get a good discount. So if you're interested in that, go to the drunkdogcreative.com website and have a look at the Join My Team page for all the information. I'm what they call a hobby demonstrator. I don't sell a lot. I do this because I love to pass on my knowledge and teach. I'm a professor by day, so I'm a natural teacher. I just have a passion for sharing it. So I'm what is called an unofficial title of a hobby demo. So I really do it for the personal discount. And I did pick up a few customers along the way, which really surprised me. And I've done a few classes that people actually wanted to come to in person. And I found it was a great way to meet some people too, especially when I moved to a new city. So it's kind of cool. But originally, I joined just for the discount because the products were really, really good. And they're already good value, but why not get them even less? So these are our kind of go-to glues for specialist things, and they are high quality. But I'm going to be very honest. This has won my heart for liquid glue. It's so easy to use. It rarely clogs up. And if it does, it's just pick the end off. It's not jamming the needle in. This is a really, really useful tool if you can get your hands on it. Next to that would be the Eileens. So I've put some of each glue on a piece of cardstock. I'm going to let it dry. And at the end of the video, I'll bring it out so you can see what residue there is when each of the glues dry. So hang around for a second and we'll do part 2. Welcome back to part 2. Now that we've dealt with liquid glue, I'm going to talk about tape adhesive. Now, I'm not going to go into score tape because frankly, I almost never use it. I've never gotten the knack of it and I find it annoying. A lot of people love it. That's fine. You do whatever you're happy with. I just don't like score tape. There are specific uses for it. So I do have some. But it's just not my go-to, so I'm not going to review it because, well, it's not going to get a great review from me anyways because I don't like it. So I am going to talk about 3 types of tape glue tape that I have used. Now, often you get this type. Any store will have these refillable or not refillable or disposable. Of course, that's what I started with. Oh my goodness, I run through the cartridge so fast, it's ridiculous. It was getting very expensive to refill them or rebuy them, and all that plastic going into landfill wasn't great with me, to be honest. But they are a go-to for most people because you can get them easily almost anywhere. They're not overly expensive, but when you're doing the volume of cards that I do, it gets expensive. This particular one, however, is the Stampin' Up! One. This is the Stampin' Seal, and you can tell it's very gunky and well used. It's almost empty, actually. We have two types at Stampin' Up! We have the Stampin' Seal and Stampin' Seal Plus. Stampin' Seal Plus is for more 3D projects and things where you really need strong hold. I haven't bothered to buy it because I never need that strong a hold. I use the normal Stampin' Seal. It's got a little cap on it to keep it from drying out, and it is refillable. So that comes off. That's your cartridge. So you just pop it in. Easiest thing in the world to refill, except when it's almost empty. And then you just pop this top back on. So I'll demonstrate how to use that in a minute. Now, the cons to this is I find that unless you have the angle pressing this bit just right, it can skip. And it takes a little getting used to the right kind of angle and pressure. Once you're used to it, once you understand it, I have that backwards. Once you understand the angle and the pressure, it's okay. And even if it skips, if you're using it for like to put mats and card fronts on card bases, it's not a big deal. But again, it's a smaller amount than the other two I'm going to show you. So you do have to refill it more often. Again, I use it because one, it is very good quality and I get a discount on it. So it makes it more cost effective for me to use this than some of the others. So the other option is the 2 tape runners, the Easy Runner Grand and the Scotch Advanced Tape Glider, or ATG. So I'm going to be honest, I got this one first and I got it long before Stampin' Up! I found it very expensive to refill and almost impossible to get refills here in Australia. Really difficult to find stockists that carried it, including Amazon. It's okay. It's nowhere near as good as the Stampin' Seal. It doesn't hold as well. They do make a cartridge that is repositional tape. So I found that a little bit useful when I wasn't sure how I wanted to lay things out and I needed them to stick together to check because I could just take them apart, but not worth the expense. These are very expensive and they jam easily. They do not hold as it's refills can be really tricky. Again, they jam. It's It was the first one I got when I got tired of getting ones like this from, you know, Office Works or local store, because that got expensive and I ran through them way too quick. So I went to this, not a fan. So when I was able to find one of these in Australia, and I have to admit I had to get it from Amazon because I couldn't find a store that carried them, the initial investment's expensive. The machine itself, it's expensive. I'm not going to lie. The refills seem expensive, but because they're so big, they work out kind of comparable with my Stamp and Seal. I'll give you the prices in a bit. It is cheaper than this because of how big they are. It is hard to get used to at first. There's a couple of tricks to it. Near the end of a reel, that can come off. I really had a hard time figuring out how to put a refill on it. Thank God for YouTube videos, right? Amen. So this is still my go-to, to be honest, because I can do huge bulk more cost effectively. But again, it doesn't stick quite as well as the Stamp and Seal. And I find I use this a lot when I'm just making a couple of cards. But when I'm doing Christmas, where I'm making 60 or more, I go to this because it's much, once you have the initial outlay for the machine, the refills, which again, I get on Amazon, are much cheaper. And that's for the official refills. There are a lot of unofficial refills you can get. They've been hit or miss, to be honest. So I tend to pay a little bit extra and get the official Scotch ones. There's a learning curve to this. So let me demonstrate these real quick. I've got a few different pieces here. I'm going to do the Stamp and Seal first. What I've got here is a piece of, these are the new 2025, I'll put them all out, 2025 and to 2027 in colors. There's 5 colors. There's Timid Tiger, there's Darling Duckling, there's Cloud Cover, there's Strawberry Slush, and there's Secret Sea. Love these colors, so I thought I'd play with these. Let's start with the Stamp and Seal. I've got a, sorry, I somehow got glue on that. You just take the cover off and do the smaller one. You have to have it almost at this sort of angle, so not straight down, but at an angle. And you put it on, and I hope the video is picking up. See, it didn't go at all that time. I didn't have it at the right angle. See how it skipped there and did some. This is a thing with this. You have to have the right angle and the right pressure. That one was perfect. But even though it squiggles and misses, that is more than enough to hold your cardstock. I'm shaking the camera, I'm sorry. To hold the cardstock on and to hold it fairly well. If I waited about 10 more seconds, I wouldn't be able to pull that off without ripping the paper. So that's the thing about tape, as opposed to liquid glue. Once it's down, it's down. You can't really move it easily without ripping paper or tearing things. So that's how that Stamp and Seal works. I do use it a lot. It is more cost effective for me with the demonstrator discount, but it's still really good value. The refills are about $10.50 in Australia for 15 meters. That works out at 70 cents a meter for the refills. And they're really super easy to drop in. All right, the next one I'm going to do is the Easy Runner. And again, this is a refillable cartridge, but to refill it, you take this whole thing out and drop it in, and it can be glitchy. You don't have to be as precise about your angle. It makes an interesting noise, and it actually lays the tape down. I hope you can see this in like dots instead of solid. But as you can see, smooth, easy coverage. And I've put it on the wrong piece, haven't I? Let's just flip that over and try that again. So this is a good one, but I find the hold is not as strong or as permanent as the others. See, I can pull that off with only minimal ripping. I did rip it a little. But it's hard to get the refills in Australia. And that's the main reason I gave up on it, is because I couldn't always get refills for it when I needed them. And that kind of sucked. So that's the dots. You can see they haven't really, they're not a strong grip. Whereas if I go back to this one, it's done. I can't budge that. I can get the little corner, but that's it. That's not coming off. So this one really sticks well. This one, super expensive, hard to get, and doesn't stick well. Look at that. Even if I go over that again. Yeah, and that's the other thing. It can put, once it does that, it's very hard to fix, and that does happen. I'm really glad that happened. Yep, see, I can't even wind that. I'm gonna have to take it all out and fix it now. I've lost a number of cartridges from that happening. If I put that down again, it's still gonna peel off. So I don't use this one anymore. I just don't. Yep, it just sits there. Lucky last is my ATG Advanced Tape Glider. There's a trick to this. You have to, I hope you can see this on camera, you have to put it on the cardstock, then press the trigger, pull it, then release the trigger and lift it off. You get very used to that, and it becomes very natural and very fast. But if you put it down and don't press the trigger, it doesn't roll. If you press the trigger before you put it down, you might get lucky, but it might drag. So press down, pull trigger, roll, release. It has good coverage, very good stickiness. If I press that down, it's already gonna rip immediately. So again, this is one where it's down, it's down. Cost effective too. So let me get my notes here. The refills on this are 33 meters of tape at about $16.50. They come in 2 packs, so $33 for 66 meters. That works out to 50 cents a meter for the glue tape, for the refills. For this one, you get 45.7 meters, but at current prices right now, if you can find one, the refills are $22.95, which makes them 52 cents a meter. So they're kind of comparable. It's a couple cents a meter more, but it doesn't have the sticking power, and it's impossible to get the refills. So let's come back to our stamp and seal. You can see this one is not sticking back down again after it lifted up. It won't stay down. That was this one. Okay, sorry. Now back to our stamp and seal. The refills for this cost out a little more expensive. You get 15 meters for $10.50 Australian, which is about 70 cents a meter. So it's about 20 cents a meter more than the ATG Tape Glider. But you get a 20% discount if you're a demonstrator, which helps. So let me be honest with you. The stamp and seal may cost you more in the long run, but it's compact, it's convenient, it's refillable, it's really good. There's not a steep learning curve with it. The initial outlay is only like $2 more for the whole thing, and then you just buy the refills. So it's great if you're doing, if you're making cards at home and you don't want to pay a huge amount of money for the initial thing, and the refills are still fairly okay, cost-wise. But they are more than this. The thing with this is it's a lot of money to buy the unit. It's like $45 or $50 without the tape. That's your initial outlay, whereas your initial outlay with this is about $12 with the tape. You got to figure that into the cost of using it over time. So yes, it might be 20 cents more a meter for the tape, unless you're a demo, and then it's less. But you're not having to lay out like $50 for the machine. The reason I use this is, one, I got it before I joined Stampin' Up, and I found it was so much better than this, so much cheaper than this, by a little bit, but it adds up over time. And once I got used to how to use it, I can do like 50 cards without fatigue and without stressing. But as soon as I joined Stampin' Up, I tried this and I'm really impressed with it. It's still good value. There isn't that enormous outlay for the machine at the beginning. It is more a meter, but it's also really sticky and really good. And this is just the normal. I haven't even tried the plus, which is even stickier. So if you're casually crafting and you're not making 50 cards at once, like I do for Christmas, this is good value. If you join as a demo, it's get cheaper. And you don't have a really large outlay. But my go-to for bulk projects and for all-day crafting is still this one. But I got to admit, when I'm just doing 1 or 2 cards, I reach for this first, because also if I'm going to a friend's house to have a crafternoon, I would take that, because this is also really heavy. And I just wouldn't bother with this. It's does not stick. It comes apart too easily. So that's part 2 on tape runners. I can't recommend any other tape runners because I haven't found any that I like better than these 2. So if you want a big initial outlay, lower running cost, a little bit of a learning curve, but really good tape, try to find one of these. I think they come in colors other than pink, but at the time I bought it, that was my only color choice. If you're doing everyday crafting, you really like Stampin' Up, or you just want something smaller and easier without the big outlay at the beginning, this tape is great. It's really good glue tape. You can get a few refills, so you always have one in your back pocket, and it sticks really well. Don't bother with this. Use these. Welcome to part 3. This is about other types of adhesives. So foam tape, foam dots, glue dots. And I have some really clear preferences here. I have tried so many different ones, and very few of them have been satisfactory. I've tried the foam, so foam tape is like, you know, it's thick and it helps you build things up. Your crafters, you know what this stuff is. Foam tape, foam dots, I've bought things like Express It, which might be an Australian one. I don't know if they have that in the US. But the inexpensive ones from your big box craft stores, and they're very frustrating, and I'm not even going to demonstrate any of them because frankly, I don't have them anymore. In fact, when I moved to the ones I am going to show you, I threw out, well, didn't throw out, I gave away all the others. We have a couple charities here that take things that you're destashing but can't sell, like glue and foam tape and papers and things, and they use them in school programs to help disadvantaged kids or kids with learning disabilities be creative and do things. It's a very special program. There's a few different organizations that run them. So that's what I do with stuff I don't want to keep anymore. That is kind of, I can't sell it on eBay or I can't give it to friends. But I actually hesitated giving those foam tapes even to that program because I found them so frustrating. So let's move on from that. I'm going to talk to you about what does work for me. And I'm just going to flat out call out the elephant in the room to begin with. The ones I love are Stampin' Up. Hands down, best ones I've ever used. I won't use anything else. There's one other brand that's okay. But once I found Stampin' Up, I have never bought another brand of foam tape or glue dot since. They're just excellent and good value for money. And I'm just going to show them to you. I'm going to start with the one that is another brand. This is from Crafts for You, Crafts for and a U. Oh, here it is. It is their foam tape. So it comes in a wheel, and as you can see, there are sometimes breaks in the tape. So there's these like little holes. I hope you can see this on camera. So when you get to that, it may not be long enough. Now that's a problem. The reason you buy a roll like this is so that you can cut it to whatever length you need when you need it. So for it to have breaks in the roll really limits your ability to do that. And that's one of the reasons I find this acceptable, easy to use, easy to peel, easy to maneuver, nothing wrong with it. But because every roll I've ever gotten has breaks in the roll, I just found it frustrating and wasteful because I couldn't cut exactly the length that I needed. So that's Crafts for You foam tape. The other kind of foam tape is the Stampin' Up! Foam adhesive strips. I do like doing shaker cards, and this is brilliant for shaker cards. I'll get one that's already open. These are very thin, and they're in strips that you can cut down. but they're perfectly designed to put around, around the edge of cardstock to build it up in layers. Or if you're doing shaker cards that have a shape, these bend really well and can just bend all around whatever shape you're using. I'll demonstrate that in a second. You can cut them down in size and you can butt them up against each other to make them longer. I absolutely adore these, not just for shaker cards, but for anything I want some dimension in that's a larger area. I find the foam adhesive strips brilliant for that. The other thing, and if you've seen my videos, you have heard me go on about these so much, and that is our dimensionals. The Stampin' Up! Dimensionals are the greatest invention ever. I wouldn't be without these. Even if I wasn't a demonstrator, I would have a stockpile of these. These are the easiest foam dots I have ever used. They come in 2 sizes, standard and mini, and they come in white and black. So if you get them in white, you get, a pack has 3 of these to it, and then the minis in the white also have 3 sheets to a pack. But if you get the black, you get 4 sheets. You get 2 of the big and 2 of the mini in a single pack. So if you want both sizes, try the black. If you don't want to commit to buying all 3, or you aren't sure if you'll use the minis, trust me, you will use the minis more than you think. And in fact, I've used mine, so I've had to grab out 2 brand new sheets of them. Because of the honeycomb structure, they are incredibly easy to lift off the page, and this top layer is incredibly easy to take off when you're working. Now, I use my Take Your Pick, which if I had to pick one Stampin' Up! Tool that was the only tool I could keep and never use anything else again from that brand, it would be this tool. I'll have to demonstrate this in another video, but it is so easy to just lift it up and place it down, just like that. Easy as pie. But it's also easy to just use your finger. Hang on. To just use your finger to pick it up, except for perhaps the very first one on a sheet. Because of this honeycomb structure, there's always an edge to pick up. And then removing that top is really easy. And I'll demonstrate these in a minute. These are the best. I would never be without them. So those are the Stampin' Dimensionals. The final thing is a little bit different. It is the Stampin' Up! Mini glue dots. So this is a roll of glue dots, and they're teeny tiny. I don't know if you can see that, but that's it there. They come in a roll. I usually cut off this flap, and then when I put it in, I can use that like a dispenser. But again, I use my take my pick with these. So if you need to attach embellishments, flowers, ribbon, anything to your cards, these mini glue dots are sensational because they're instant stick. You don't have to wait for the glue to dry. You don't have to hold the embellishment or the flower or the gem or the ribbon in place till the glue dries. You just stick it on this. They are phenomenal. So the one product I would keep if I couldn't keep anything else is this, and you can see how used and worn it is. It is really worn. Putty tip at that end for picking up embellishments. The pick at this end. There's a blade at this end, and then there's other attachments you can get for it too, including styluses, a perforator, a proper cutting knife that just twist lock in or screw in at this end. This is brilliant. But if I was allowed 2 products from Stampin' Up! Or 3 products from Stampin' Up!, and they were the only things I could have, Dimensionals would be number 2, glue dots would be number 3, hands down. Let's have a quick look at these. I've got some small pieces of paper to show you how it works. I'm not going to demonstrate this one because frankly, I don't use it anymore. This one's going to get given away too. Because of this break, it's not as good. And to be honest, more expensive than any of these. So I stick with Stampin' Up! For this stuff. So let's have a look at how the mini dimensionals work. I'll do the white one. And because it's the first one, I am going to use my Take My Pick. So I've got a very tiny, pretend this is like a sentiment with a very thin word stamped on it, very tiny strip. So this is where these mini dimensionals, and look how easy that is. I'm going to pop one at each end. And because it's long, I'm going to put one in the middle. And I'm going to take this one from there. So I now get this honeycomb effect to make it easy. I can pick up that one, that one, that one, or that one really easily. And then I just take these little bits off. It's that easy. I have terrible nails because I ride a horse, so my nails break all the time. So they're terrible, but I can still pick those off. And look at that. Can you see that? It just lifts it out from the background to give it that dimension, holds it in place, 3 tiny little dots. You can't see them. The other thing is, because of the hexagonal design, you've got two flat pieces, 2 pointed pieces. So you can turn this to fit really tight spaces. You can put it on, I hope this is showing, you can put it on that way, which makes it narrower, that way, which makes it narrower. The design and shape of these mean that you can put them at any angle or any twist to fit. So if you've got a die cut out that has, very small bits that you still need foam on, you can angle this so that it doesn't show on the outside. Those are the minis. They are fantastic. Let's take a more bigger size one and have a look at the bigger dimensionals. So I'll just grab 2 of those. That easy to lift out, that easy to take off, even if you have no nails like me. And again, hope this is in camera, pop it down and you're done. That's it. The black work exactly the same, except that if I lift one up, you can see that they're black. So that's really good for darker projects too. So Stampin' Dimensionals, both the regular size and the mini size, best foam mounts I've used ever. Let's have a look at these strips and how they work. Get another piece of cardstock out. I've already pulled this one off, but if I want to, create lift all the way around, or if I want to put a shaker card together, I just take my snips and just snip it. There you go. I mean, for something this size, I would just use the dimensionals, but if I'm creating a shaker card, I would use this and I would, create the barrier all the way around there and there. I'm going to save that because I don't want to waste it. But again, super easy to take the tape off the back. This sort of channel can also be used to run a ribbon through that you don't want stuck in place. So if I put that down, I've still got that lift out from the background, but I could run a ribbon through there that could be taken in and out and moved. There's all sorts of uses for this foam tape. I hope you can see that. It's also a little taller than the dimensionals. And I should have checked if the actual things are on here. I don't know how tall this is. 3/8 of an inch, maybe? No, can't be. Anyways, these foam strips are a little bit taller than the dimensionals if you want something to really pop out. And like I said, they are also, and I'll show you, I can also curve them to go around something if I want, if I close that all the way, if I wanted that to be a shaker element, which I don't right now. Yeah, and they don't usually pull off that easily, but I didn't let it set, so it did. Well, I'll just put it back. I'm going to take a little piece of this to demonstrate the glue dots. So the last thing then is the glue dots. And again, this isn't foam, but this is genius. It is so good for embellishments, ribbons, flowers, things that you want to stick that you don't want to have to sit there and hold till glue dries. I've got some ribbons here that I've made, some little bows in a little box. Let me just grab one of them. Oh, pink really doesn't go with the color scheme, does it? Is there one that does? Oh, well, let's just go for the pink. Oh, maybe blue. Sorry, I'm just playing. I've got a little blue bow. What I'm going to do is take my pick. I'm going to pick up one of those glue dots and I'm going to put it right there on the middle of the back. And then I'm going to stick the bow to my cardstock. And it's done. And it's on there. See? Try to do this. Okay, I'm playing now. That's it. One little tiny glue dot and my bow is on there. It's brilliant for embellishments. I love these. Cannot recommend them enough. So that's the skinny on foam tape and alternative adhesives. Here's the rundown. I can't live without my Stampin' Dimensionals. Can't live without these. Absolutely, absolutely love them. Obviously, I have the white and the black in all sizes. Don't know what I'd do without them. I use them every single project for things, almost every single project. Love these foam strips if you want to build things up higher or if you want to make shaker cards. They keep the glitter in, trust me. They're easy to adjust to size and to squish into each other so that there's no gaps. So those are the foam adhesive strips from Stampin' Up! And the mini glue dots from Stampin' Up! These have saved me so many times. I used to get so frustrated. In fact, I rarely ever used ribbon especially because you have to hold it till the glue dries. It won't stay in place. It won't stick unless you put pressure on it until the glue starts drying. These are a game changer, seconds. And you saw that bow is really stuck there. That one tiny little dot and that bow is not coming off. They're brilliant. So hopefully you can sort of, well, maybe not, see the heights. But that's it. For foam adhesives, for glue dots, you can't go past the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, adhesive strips, and glue dots. Just hands down, the best I've used. I'm not even going to apologize for that. It's not shameless self-promotion. It's absolutely honest. I have gotten rid of every other foam dot and foam strip I have. This is the last one to go. And honestly, I thought it was gone. I went looking for these and found this at the back of the drawer and thought I'd just bring it out and show you why I don't like it. Anyways, that's it. The other thing I've got is to show you how the glues have dried. That's on this. I'm going to hold it up here and say this was the multi-purpose liquid glue fine tip. No, this was, sorry. This first one was this fine tip Stampin' Up! Glue. You can see that when it dries clear, but not invisible. None of them are really invisible. So that's that one. The next two are from the multi-liquid glue. This is the fine tip and this is the broad tip. Again, clear, but not invisible. This was the Eileen's. It still hasn't dried fully. And normally it's because you squish something on it and glue things together and you wouldn't see it anyways. But it does dry clear when it dries, as you can see just down this end. This end is not dry yet. This is the Sweet Petunia glue press. That has dried very clear, not invisible, but clear. So that's what happens with drying time. That's probably half an hour or a little bit more. But there you go. There's my honest opinion on liquid glues, glue tape, and foam adhesives and glue dots. I really hope this was helpful to you. If you want to join Stampin' Up!, go to my blog on drunkdogcreative.com and have a look at all the benefits. If you're in Australia, feel free to sign up under me. I support people really well. Again, it's okay to be a hobby demonstrator. If you don't want to run classes and you don't want to sell things, great way to test some products and get some free products. Really love their products. Great value for money. There are a few things in the liquid glue category that are my go-tos that aren't Stampin' Up. But that's my preference and I'm being really honest. Same with the tape. If I'm doing a lot of cards, I do this, but that's because I already spent the money on it before I even found Stampin' Up. If I had come to Stampin' Up! First, I'm not sure I would have spent the money to buy this. But it is what it is. I use both of these. I don't use any of the others. Anyways, if you have any questions, put a comment below. I'll try and answer them. And otherwise, Go be creative, go have fun, and happy inking, everybody.